It just won't surprise me if this turns into a run fest. So, last game, you got the Cowboys versus the Ravens. So, listen, Amari Cooper still showing signs of life for fantasy relevance. Baltimore Ravens, Jackson will probably be back. So, I obviously like Lamar Jackson against the Cowboys. Is there anything special there? Zeke's he's no longer fantasy stardom right now.
He's one of those ones. He's Zeke.
You play him because of the name.
Because of the name, you have to play him. Because he has the potential to have that huge game. But against Baltimore, I don't see it.
I agree.
I think it's a tough sell this week.
I agree. So it looks like John Harbaugh's shaking the head. That ain't good. Looks like Daddy secured a win. My man Donnie, if you're listening to Daddy right now, listen, solid matchup, my guy, but you talk shit on Thursday, and that's just no bueno in football. This guy said, he basically just said he's taking me behind the woodshed because he was up like 60 points. I think he had 2 star players that gave him crazy numbers. But that's what, he had Will Fuller, and, he was talking shit, and that's why you just don't talk shit in fantasy until the score's the score, baby.
That's right.
So, sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck.
Better luck next time. Okay, follow me on Twitter.
And probably every other word was Rogers when he talked to you, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how Donald talks.
Yeah.
Rogers this, Rogers that, Rogers.
Or we'll be like, why you mad, Green Bay fan?
Yeah, Green Bay fan.
So, all right. All right, man, let's talk a little move in. So our move in segment, this is for week 13. We got some high profile names, some low profile names, some medium profile names. We basically got it all. We got you covered to get that loss for your Week 13 fantasy matchup. And no, that's not a stat error correction. Okay, I did say loss. So, G-Man, Senior G-Month, I'm going to let you do the honors and take your first move in.
All right, my first one, I'm going to go with TJ Hawkinson versus the Bears. Chicago has allowed 15.6 fantasy points per game to tight ends. Last time he played him, he had over 16 points in week 1, and he's averaging 12 points a game. He's never scored less than 9 throughout the season. So with that matchup, based off the numbers and his continued consistency, I like him this week against the Bears.
I do too. I don't have him on my move in, but that's because he's a must start for me in all my leagues. I do have him in a lot of leagues.
Tight end's a thin position this year.
Oh, wicked.
That's obvious.
He's actually my keeper because he was drafted, I think, in like the 6th round. Or I think it was actually like the 11th round or 16th round. Either way, long story short, he's Daddy's keeper this year.
Daddy's keeper.
Yeah, Daddy's keeping White Boy 88.
All
right, I'm gonna start and drop some knowledge on you. So, this player is going up against a team that gives 21 fantasy points to quarterbacks. He's had in the very first matchup against the same team, he had 24.28 points against them in week 1. In my opinion, he's a sleeper. This team is allowing 2 touchdowns to the quarterback each week, and they have the 3rd worst takeaways for defenses. And I'm talking about one, North Carolina's own, Mitchell Trubisky. So I will say this. People are going to think I'm crazy. I like Mitchell Trubisky more than I like Kyler Murray this week. Now, am I saying go out there and get Mitchell Trubisky and drop Kyler Murray? No.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Whatever you're thinking right now, don't fucking do that.
Or do that if you're in a league with me, and I'll be glad.
Yeah, if you're facing me this week, do that.
Yeah, I'll pick Kyler up all day. But as far as this week goes, I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. I am willing to bet whatever there is from anyone that's listening. I will forfeit any fantasy football season. I am booking it. Mitch Trubisky will have a better game than Kyler Murray.
Wow.
Fantasy-wise.
Wow.
Yes. I'm telling you, I think we'll have
text in now.
That's
everybody.
right.
Whoever's listening,
That's right.
Text in now. Make your bets with Eric. I'm not going to get involved with this.
I think he'll have a turnover, and I'm not saying he's not going to turn the ball over. But what I saw against Green Bay, the guy can still throw a very good football. He loves Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson is going to have a day. David Montgomery is going to have a day. TJ Hawkinson is going to have a day.
Wrong team.
I know. But Mitchell Trubisky is going to outshine them all. I like Mitchell Trubisky.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
I like Mitchell Trubisky this week a lot. Book it. Move him into your lineups.
All right. Well, on with that exciting. Let's start somewhere else now here with the I have a hot take here. I mean, he's been a hit or miss play all season long. I like Melvin Gordon versus Kansas City this week, and just based off of last time they played, he had 17 carries, 68 yards, and a tutty. Drew Lock is back. The team should be performing a little better now that they have a quarterback to play this week.
True that.
And KC has allowed 4 TDs the last 3 games to running back. So just based off of those two things, I think that if you're in trouble and you need a running back this week on injury, you have injuries, and Melvin Gordon's on your bench, and he's been inconsistent for you. I like him this week for you.
All right. I am going to follow you at that running back position, and I already talked a little bit about him. I'll talk a little bit about him again. I'm going to go with my man JT, Jonathan Taylor, coming straight off the COVID reserve. Listen, we all saw what Adrian Peterson and Kerryon Johnson did to that defense last week. I just don't know how you don't play a guy that's to a team that's giving up 5.6 yards per carry. They've allowed 14 tutties to running backs and an average of 24.8 points to opposing running backs. That's the highest in the league. I think he's going to be well rested. I think this is a Jonathan Taylor showing all day long. So if you're a Jonathan Taylor owner, book it, baby. We're gonna sleep like babies Sunday night because we played him.
All right, so that's on to me. I'm going to stick with the running back position again, and obviously everybody's been playing Josh Jacobs. He is a must-start for me this week because I think that the game plan for the Raiders is to just control the game against the Jets.
Do you still feel the same way if it's Devontae Booker? If Jacobs doesn't play?
Against the Jets, yes.
Okay.
I could like Devontae Booker. But that is true. I mean, we do have to talk about that. Jacobs might not play. There's the questionable tag on him. But everything he's talking about, he is going to play. It looks like he's going to play. And once again, I mean, I've been using this common theme all year is any play against the Jets is a good play in fantasy football.
No doubt.
And they have not let us down yet.
Yeah. Again, I'm gonna follow you on that running back position because I talked a little bit about this guy earlier as well. I'm gonna play it from both angles, but that's got to be Miles Sanders. Green Bay allows the 4th most fantasy points to running backs. They allow the 4th most yardage to opposing running backs. This is a game where if you're a fantasy owner, especially if you're locked into the playoffs and you're wondering, like, is this guy going to ever perform for me? In my opinion, this is a make it or break it game for Miles Sanders. So I am going to roll with him in a lot of my leagues where I'm not too deep at running back, but it does concern me if they do get behind, that they roll with Boston Scott.
Once again, I mean that's the biggest concern here is that if they get behind, then you're gonna lose the Miles Sanders value. But here's what I'll say: that the Eagles' defense actually played pretty well for the most part the other night against the Seahawks.
Agreed.
They did not allow Russell Wilson to be Russell Wilson. Aaron Rodgers is a little.
What offense do you like more though? Green Bay's or Seattle's?
Oh, Green Bay's by far. I mean, I like both offenses. I think they're both high-powered offenses. I just think Seattle hasn't, for some reason, been able to do it consistently.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers this year has been able to consistently put up solid numbers. So, I mean, based off of that, I think he gives the Eagles defense a problem. But then again, I mean, if the Eagles defense shows up, then Miles Sanders is a good play.
I agree. So I'm going to go off script. I had Devontae Parker as a wide receiver that I like, but we already talked about him. So I'm going to throw out another name that I do like, and that is going to be Mr. Robert Bobby Trees. Bobby Trees playing Arizona. Listen, at the end of the day, I think this is a comeback game for Jared Goff and the Los Angeles Rams. I do like Bobby Trees. He's got a great average depth per catch. So I think he's over like 11 yards per catch, which is extremely high. But the offense has been so Jekyll and Hyde, so back and forth, that, in my opinion, this is another breakout week for Bobby Trees. And last week he was on the field for 77% of the snaps, which was the most highest on the team, followed by Josh Reynolds. Josh had over 70, and then Cooper Kupp was just over 60. So I do like Bobby Trees. I have him as my 13th wide receiver. 6 catches, 69 yards with a possible tutty, 15.6 fantasy points, wide receiver 2.
All right, I'm going to go to the tight end position here again for the second time, and I'm going to move in Robert Tonyan versus. I mean, tight end's been a tough position this year. It's been
Bobby
thin.
Tonyan.
But Robert Tonyan versus the Eagles, he's had 15 plus points the last 2 games, and Philly struggles to to cover the tight ends.
Yeah.
I could totally see Aaron Rodgers utilizing him if the Eagles are able to shut down Devontae Adams. I like him in this game.
Yeah, I think he had a monstrous game against the Eagles. Let me see, Green Bay. Who are they playing this week? Green
Eagles.
Bay? Eagles.
They are playing the Eagles.
They are playing the Eagles.
He didn't have a monstrous game against them yet.
No,
I'm
he will.
expecting
That's
that
a
he
bold
will.
prediction. Book it. Book it. All right, let's see. The Eagles. Yeah, so they've given up 6 touchdowns to fantasy. They've given up an average of 10.8 points. So, yeah, so I agree. I think Bobby T's is a solid play. I have him ranked. Yeah, I like him. I have him ranked number 7. Okay, so. All right, I am going to go with one Mr. A-Rob. So I told you I like Mitchell Trubisky. I'm basically picking on the Lions. I mean, every week is Christmas when you play the Detroit Lions. I don't even know who their head coach is, who they assigned as the interim coach. They got rid of their GM. They got rid of their head coach. They basically got rid of every vending machine in the locker room. Said, guys, no more free snacks. I like Allen Robinson a lot against these guys. Listen, last week he had 8 catches, 74 yards with 2 tutties on 12 targets. I think Mitchell looks to him a lot. And then you obviously saw what Will Fuller was able to do to them. And obviously Will Fuller was on the drug, right? He was on the PEDs, and I get
Yeah.
that. But at the end of the day, I mean, you don't need to juice up when you play the Lions. Like, what are you thinking, Will Fuller? Like, who looks at the Detroit Lions and says, you know what, man, I got to juice up. I got to juice up. So, so I like Allen Robinson.
I mean, he was just prepared for the next week against the Colts.
Yeah.
He had a tough team.
Right. So I think bold prediction, Robinson, 7 grabs, 85 yards with a tutty.
All right, I'm going to stay with you on the wide receiver position. I'm going to go with Devontae Parker this week.
Okay.
Fitz magic. If he's playing, he loves going Parker's way.
I
That's
agree.
definitely true. Bengals have allowed the fourth most points to wide receivers, and last week he scored 19.9 points against the Jets. So I totally expect him to continue on with that. And
I agree. I like him a lot. He's my wide receiver 7 this week.
all right,
So
we are on the same page.
Yes,
today,
we are.
Besides
Yes, we
the whole Mitchell Trubisky thing.
that's it. I know. Bold. Book it,
I mean,
baby.
that's what we're going to label as the bold prediction.
Listen, Sunday, I'm not even going to watch my fantasy team. I'm just going to watch Mitchell Trubisky just to make sure he doesn't fuck me with what I said.
Yeah, have you had any bets come in yet?
I haven't checked because I'm afraid to be like, oh, dude, you're 8-3 in this league. Are you serious? If Mitch Trubisky doesn't perform, you're going to back out?
Yeah. I mean, I think you took that a little bit too far.
Yeah, I might have
You're
taken
live still. You could regress a little here and take it back, because that's what I would do if I were
I'll
you.
swap my number 1 for my number 2 as far as rounds next year if Mitchell Trubisky gets outperformed by Kyler Murray.
So we're not leaving any fantasy leagues. I mean, that's just stupid.
Yeah.
You've already paid for him.
Yeah, I just like Mitch this week. But, all right, let's move on. So, I like one Mr. Tight End, Kyle Rudolph. Against Jags, they're allowing 9 touchdowns, averaging 12.4 points given up to tight ends. Kirky's been hot lately.
That's a deep sleeper.
100%. Rudolph's had 9 targets for 7 grabs last week against Carolina. So, I got a man, I know he's a Vikings fan. He's going to be happy when I say Kyle Rudolph. I like him a lot. Book it. He's a solid play against the one that they call the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is also my tight end 11, by the way.
All right, and then I'm gonna go back to running back here. Is if he plays this week, I'm assuming he's probably gonna. Is Raheem Mostert. Raheem. Bills have allowed 100-yard rushers 7 games in a row. Can we make it 8? I think we do. San Fran can run the football.
Yep.
If he's back, he's a must-play.
All right. I'm going to give you a defense that you're going to be mad at me about. But they are going against your one that they call the New York Football Giants. And that is Seattle's defense. The reason I like them, listen, they're going up against Colt McCoy. I'm not saying he's horrible, but he ain't no Daniel Jones. Even if Dunlap doesn't play, the blitz percentage that they've been doing over the last 5 weeks is insane. I think they're up like 60% versus the previous 7 weeks.
Yeah, and Jamal Adams is getting
Jamal
healthy.
Adams is going to be tough. Yeah, I think they're going to blitz him a lot. I think they're going to try to put pressure on Colt and force some turnovers. That's my opinion.
Yep.
but I think it's a tough matchup for the Giants.